I've been around long enough that I feel like I don't need to introduce myself to the fans, but to all the people in the athletic department I don't know, I'm Hank Dickinson. And I'm really honored to be here today because this is a big day for North Texas. And I know as I look out on this sea of tried and true fans, the people that have been with us for a long time, that it means a lot to you. So let's have a show of hands. Who had season tickets back in the Southland Conference? Let's give them a round of applause. Every week I have a chance to interview Ren in a little segment that we use on the pregame for the football broadcast. And I could tell today that in the middle of what's been a bit of a frustrating football season, there was a lot of relief for this man and a big glow on his face. And so it's going to be fun to hear Ren's thoughts on this. But as someone that worked in the department as we moved from Southland to Independent to the Big West to the Sun Belt to Conference USA, I can honestly tell you today we finally caught up with where we wanted to be all along. So I'm not going to steal any thunder from the two men that helped make this happen, but I do want you to give a big round of applause to the entire athletic department because a lot of people behind the scenes had to work for a long time for this to happen. So we have two keynote speakers today that will tell you a little bit about how North Texas positioned itself to get into the American. The first is Neil, Art of the Deal Smotrisk. The second is Ren, Conference Maker Baker. And before I turn it over to Neil, I will just say this. One thing you learn in college athletics, when your athletic director and your president are on the same page, great things can happen. And here's a part of that, Dr. Neil Smotrisk.
Thanks, Hank. And how's the Mean Green family doing tonight? I mean, if you can't feel good tonight, you can't feel good. All right? You know what? We've had a heck of a run. This has been an emotional roller coaster. It's been up. It's been down. I'm not going to go through the process with you because it'd make your head hurt and it'd be weird. But here's what I'm going to tell you. When I got here I was placed into the presidency here in 2013 in December. Now, how many of you remember that in January 1st of 2014, my school I was still at, UNLV, lost to UNT? I mean, how much fun is that? And I was kind of president at both schools at the same time. I did the coin flip. I wore a tie that was red and green because ESPN told me to. And you know what? As I walked out, I saw this sign. And it was beautiful. It said, "We beat your team, we stole your president." Now, that was a high point for me, and it told me, damn, athletics really matters at UNT, and we're going to make sure athletics really matters at UNT. And it wasn't long after that we made some big moves. And the best move I ever made in my life, having hired and fired a number of athletic directors. Don't get worried, Ren. Was to hire a VP for athletics and athletic director, Ren Baker, who rocks the house. Now, when Ren and I got here, we made a few simple agreements. You kick butt. I'm going to support silly things. Little did I know they would come true, like, hey, if you raise half the money, I'll give you half the money. Yeah, that's cost us, Ren. But it's been a good cost. It's created $100 million in facilities that put us on the map, all right? The programs that we have here, the teams that we have here, the success, you know, cherry on top of the sundae. You know, how about we beat Purdue in a first round game of the NC2A? By the way, kind of funny. They're like saying, "Hey, would you like to be president of Purdue?" And I'm like, "No." I got a good deal going here, right? So here's the thing. We're moving. We're moving up. And it isn't just athletics. This year, we've grown in the last 3 years 4% a year, year over year. We're probably the fastest growing major university in the state of Texas. Our graduate programs are booming. Our research is booming. We are crushing it in every single thing we do. And now athletics is going to help us lead the way. A conference change. A change that leads us to much greater national attention. A change that builds our brand. A change that puts us where the Mean Green family wants us to be. And that is what's happening right now, today. This is a big moment in our history. And it's going to change us. It's going to change our trajectory. And it's going to change the perception of the world around us about what this university offers, not just in athletics, which is going to be amazing, but in academics and in reputation. So you are now part of this success story. And as part of this story, we're going to need some help. You know, we're going to have to step up. We got some things to do over the next few years to make sure that we can be competitive at every single level. Because, I don't know, maybe the Big 12 is next. Who knows? So the bottom line, great to be in Conference USA, Great to be in, I've got to say it right now, the American. And for all of you, practice the American or the American Athletic Conference. You can't say the AAC, it's forbidden. So for us to be in the American right now represents a quantum leap. And what we're going to have to do is make sure we can show that we're competitive at the highest level. Because look what happened to the rest of the American. They've gone on, they've done great. We're going to go on, we're going to do great. But we're going to be great as a family. We're going to be great as the Mean Green family. We're going to be great because all of us pull together in the same direction and move it following an incredible athletic director's lead. Ren has been the architect of this. Make no mistake. I give him incredible credit for this. And I want you all to now give a giant round of applause to someone who's been burning the phone lines as well as burning my personal time for a long time now, trying to make this happen. Ren Baker, your AD.
Thank you, guys. Let me just say this. The most gratifying part of this is to be able to deliver to the Mean Green Nation. You all have been wonderful and tremendous and supportive, and you know I don't feel much pressure in life, and this job carries a lot of pressure, but I don't feel it. I think it's because I live with 3 women, and fans can never put more pressure on you than them. But I certainly felt the weight of this the last few weeks and months. So when we got that call, we were very relieved and very happy for each of you. And it really is an accomplishment that everybody can celebrate. The buildings that we've built, the wins that we've had, the successes that we've had, everybody contributed to it. And without all of those things, it wouldn't have happened. There were dozens and dozens of schools that were trying to get those spots in the American Conference. And when I talked to the commissioner the first time, he said, we have done our homework, and you're one of the few candidates who isn't promising that you're going to invest. You have demonstrated that you can invest. And so that comes back to the people in this room. And we're very, very grateful for each of you. Happy for our student athletes, our former student athletes who helped us get here, our current, and certainly the ones in the future that are going to be able to play on a new level of competition on TV that we don't have to look all over to find. The American has a great ESPN package, over 100 linear games between football and basketball every year. and those opportunities will be great. Coach Luttrell and his wife Becca, coach back here, wave and round of applause. That's come up a lot in recruiting the last few years as we recruit in the Metroplex. I mean, the thing about being in Dallas-Fort Worth and in Texas is it's one of the top talent producers for every sport, but certainly football. The difficult thing is everyone recruits here. And so the prospective student athletes that you're talking to are hearing the pitch from all over the country. And certainly those opportunities to play on national TV regularly, that becomes very, very important. So I'll just say one of the questions that comes up is, when did this process start? It started back when Hank was here and we started the program 100 and something years ago. Hank and John Hedlund are our only two that's been here for 4 conferences. Is that right, Hank? You and John Hedlund? Anybody else that's made it that long? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mary Harden. She's been around a long time. You know, it started from the very beginning, and everybody who along the way has contributed, and that's what makes moments like this special. And we are not done. I mean, what's next for us is to develop a transition plan, because we're not happy to just be in the American Conference. We want to win the American Conference. And so we look at what the University of Houston has done. We share a lot in common with the University of Houston, and the president will probably not be happy to know that I pulled their financials for the last decade. We'll be talking about that next week. And before you laugh, their fan contributions is on there too. So everybody is going to have a role if you want us to compete, but together we can do it. And the reason why I know we can do it is we did this. And so thanks to you, thanks to everyone who is Mean Green. It's a great week to be us. Eat, drink, be merry, have a good time. And then, Hank, are we taking questions, or are we?
We will take some questions. I've got a couple of softballs for you, too. You know, that's what I'm good at, softballs. And then, yes, if anyone has a question, we'll ask you to raise your hand and maybe come up front. But before Seth has to leave to head and get with his team and get ready for a really challenging game tomorrow, a lot of this doesn't happen if you don't go to 4 bowl games in 5 years and light things up the way we have done. And so I really want to say, in my experience here, to have a coach that's done that makes a huge difference. So a round of applause for our head football coach. And Ren, like we talked today, that's a benchmark of success. Punching a ticket to the NCAA tournament and pulling a first-round upset against Purdue doesn't hurt either, because the American has a very proud basketball tradition. What were some of the things that you obviously sold about overall team success? Because there have been a lot of championships here in the last few years. Yeah,
we really sold, not beyond athletic success, we built our collateral materials around 3 things. And here's a cheat sheet for the people who are here. We've had a hidden website that we designed quite some time ago that you guys didn't even know existed, but unt-rise.com, and you'll be able to see some of the brag points that we put together so we could quickly share those with ADs and presidents. But we talked about the university profile. I mean, it's 42,000 students, Carnegie Tier 1, minority serving institution, Hispanic serving institution, all of the ranked programs. We talked about all the musicians that we've had come through here and other distinguished alumni. We talked about the growth of Dallas-Fort Worth, and particularly this corridor between the 2 cities. That's one of the most rapidly growing areas in the entire country right now. And so that was important. And then from an athletic success perspective, we talked about the comprehensive excellence and what we've invested to do that. The strength coaches, nutritionists, athletic trainers, all of those things that we put in, and we have seen how that's helped us be successful across the board. And it very much was important in the conversation and come up multiple times.
And Neil, I think a lot of fans had the same thought that I had, and that was, well, the big stumbling block may be our friends down the highway at SMU. You've got a great relationship with President Turner. Ren has a great relationship with Rick, the AD down there. How did all that work with SMU? Give us a little bit of behind the scenes there.
Yeah, so maybe my first meeting with Gerald Turner wasn't the best. We were all talking at a Dallas Regional Chamber event, and I said, sure, you can go to SMU. You can pay $60,000 and get a $20,000 scholarship. You still pay $40,000. Or you can come to UNT. You can pay $20,000 nominal fee, get a $10,000 scholarship, and pay $10,000. Let me think, $40,000 minus $160,000. That leaves about $20,000 left over. Parents, send your kids to UNT and buy a Maserati.
That went over big.
It went over real big with Gerald, Sir Gerald. But let me tell you what, since then, he and I interact on a nearly weekly basis. He is part of advocacy groups for presidents in the region and in the North Texas region and the greater Dallas Chamber. I really like him. He's a good guy. He's done a lot for the university. And we have talked many times, but I'm just going to give you a little top secret here. Of course, we're not video recording this, right, Ren? No. Yeah. Oh, that's great. He basically gave me a call last Friday and said, Neil, we've got a great rivalry. We love playing you. You're kind of far away from us, but it's okay. We think you're not really completely embedded in Dallas, but you're embedded in the North Texas region. And it's time for you to come into the AAC. And I said, you know what? You're a very gracious gentleman, and I appreciate that a whole lot, and I look forward to years of rivalry with you. So I will tell you, he welcomed us with open arms, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. And I think that this competition, and they're doing great right now. Let's give them a lot of credit. They're doing great, but we're going to do great too. And this is the kind of competition that causes us to improve. And, they say a rising tide floats all the boats.
So the chase is over. We caught the ponies. Now we get a chance to mess with them every year across 16 different teams. Fantastic. All right. I know there have to be some questions. I'll go ahead and start. Joe Holland, what do you want to know?
Well, thank you. And congratulations, gentlemen. We appreciate all the hard work that you and the athletic department have done. And Dr. Swankert, you've answered part of my question already. Who made the decision? Who were the voting guys that said, yeah, we want North Texas in the American, I used to call it the American Airlines Conference. I'm going to have to quit doing that.
Well, ultimately, the board of directors has the say, and that's the CEOs of the member institutions. So it was the presidents that had to say, but the ADs have obviously the presidents take a lot of counsel from the athletic directors, and they hired consultants to evaluate everything, to look at all the different assets that each institution brings. And so there's a lot that went into it, but the final say comes to the president. So that's when you're telling people how early we knew, and we made them wait. But that's when we knew we were in good shape, when that call come from one of the presidents in the league.
Yeah. Let me tell you, though, that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the groundwork Ren did with the ADs and the presidents, and that, we all made some calls. Ren has done an enormous job here. Ren has shown that he understands the metrics that move athletic programs, and that he understands the evaluation process. And if we hadn't hit that, you all have to understand, this is not, I like Ren and we're going to get him in. This is based off data. And Ren is the engineer of the data that got us to this place. So I just want to say, big round of applause for a serious strategic plan that has really moved us along to Ren. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's interesting, the conversations you have. My wife, Heather, is in the back, and she doesn't probably know or care much about conference alignment. Wave, Heather. But she's probably got 20, 25 hours of listening to me on the phone at night in the bed because we talked to some West Coast guys, too, about their league, and they're on a different time zone. So there were many calls that were going on that were interrupting our Netflix binge watching that we usually do. They weren't interrupting anything else, so it was.
Heather, don't think it's all over. Something else will come up that keeps him consumed. But yeah, that's fantastic. Anybody else with a question for our illustrious panel? Yes, sir. Stand up so we can hear you.
So did it start heavy with the
Yeah, so it's something that really Neil and I talked about from the time that I got here. I mean, this was a goal. We had it in mind as we put the strategic plan together. I want to pause 1 second before I talk about that and just say I'd be remiss to not mention my predecessor, Rick Villarreal, who had the vision to build this stadium. Without this stadium and the people who were a part of that, there's no chance that we'd be here today. And so I had a chance to call Rick a day or two. Yeah, give him a round of applause. I called him the day before we had the announcement because I wanted him to hear it first from us. And but really about 24 months ago, we hired a consultant kind of quietly, and we asked them to do all the research and digging they could on all the conference realignment that has happened the last few years and what drove those decisions. And we used that data to start to build our collaterals. And so then I told this in the press conference, but Neil and I, in our infinite wisdom, coming off of a very stressful COVID period, picked the last week of July to take vacation because nothing was going to happen then. He went to Arkansas, I was in Florida, and OU in Texas decided to rock the athletics world. And so we spent a lot of time on the phone. But the good thing was we already had a lot of that work done. So within 2 weeks, we had materials printed and in the hands of decision makers and started making phone calls, and then we just regularly check in after that. So I said the best thing about this is I got to give him a to-do list and follow up with him daily and say, have you called this person? Have you called that person? And he did a great job. So I'm very thankful to have him as a partner in this.
Just blame Ren for everything, okay? I mean, he did a fantastic job. And again, what y'all might not understand is that not every president and athletic director get along like Ren and I do. I think we've had a great relationship, and it's that kind of teamwork and that kind of relationship that really puts a plan into action. This could have died 100 times over, but the partnership that we have is something that I celebrate. And I just think, again, I probably hired the smartest young AD in the country, and I'm going to give myself a whole lot of credit for that. But then again, the person who got it done was Ren Baker, and there's nothing like having a team to make the dream work.
Let's get one more. Anybody else got a question? Yes, sir, right back here.
We do not know the divisions yet, but I know that being able to have some regionalization, one of the things that TV contracts have done to college athletics, and we've seen this even in Conference USA, is it's forced us into conferences that make no geographic sense, and it makes it really, really hard to develop rivalries and sell tickets and for fans to travel regularly. And so one of the things I think was really smart Commissioner Resco did is he really tightened up geography for everybody. So, now when you look at some of the teams that we get to travel to, non-football, Wichita State, but Tulsa, SMU, we keep UTSA and Rice, but even Tulane. I mean, we've all made the trip to New Orleans when the New Orleans Bowls have happened, and that's a nice trip. And so it gives us a chance to develop those rivalries. So I am guessing that there will be geographic regions. Maybe the one thing that might happen that's not geographic could be Navy football going with the West, because you're going to have Wichita State that's over here with us in other sports. And I know those service academies love to be in the state of Texas. This is a very fertile recruiting ground for them, not only for student athletes, but also for just general cadets as well.
Go ahead.
Whoops. I'm hoping so. My son-in-law is a Naval Academy graduate, and he said, I'll go to every single game that you guys play. So I want to see my grandchildren more. Let's hope Navy's in our conference.
Somewhere in the ghosts of Fouts Field, someone just scored in that North Texas Navy game again. Great work by these two men. Let's give them another.
There was one more in the back before we do it.
Oh, was there one?
Yeah, somebody had their hand up back
Way
there.
in the back. Are we going to bring base? We almost got out of here, Ren. That's on you.
Yeah, Hank was getting ready to shut it down. So,
That was on you.
listen, I've said this before, and when we do our caravan stop, baseball generally comes up, and I know that Patty Lovelace is here. Don, she's about to write a check right now. I mean, I see it, Don. Lovelace Stadium. But baseball comes up a lot. We have a lot of donors that have interest in it, and I always say I want to deliver. I want to be the AD that delivers baseball here. It's probably the only way I'll ever get into a Hall of Fame anywhere, because I know how bad you guys want it, and I want it. But what's important to me, especially as we make this transition, is that our other sports that we currently have are prepared to be competitive, and we're going to have to step up to do that. I mean, there's no question about that. We're going to have the next big project, and you're going to see us roll out the drawings and the talking points here quickly, is the expansion of our athletic center. We're busting at the gills and can't really fully service all of our student athletes we have now in terms of the weight room and the athletic training room and those areas, as well as our academic support center. Those are all areas that we have way overstressed in terms of the amount of people. So once we enlarge and renovate that facility, that will allow us to consider the expansion of sports. We'll have to look at some women's sports because of Title IX as well, and we want to make sure that we provide equal opportunities for our female athletes. And then if Neil still goes on the halvesies with everything, we should be able to get it done.
Ren. I was just going to say, if we still follow the 50% rule, we're going to need some pretty stout donors out there, and I think we got some. So you want baseball? We can get baseball. Let's reach deep into our pockets, form a plan, but first, let's get the athletic center done because it's critical to our future success. By the way, I coached baseball for 14 years. I know I don't look like it, and I kind of sucked.
Is this like an application?
It is. I think I could get us into a conference playoff, I'm pretty sure, okay?
Neil Field at Smotrisk Stadium. Yeah. Big day tomorrow. We kick things off celebrating the first team that ever graced the field here at Apogee. The 2011 Mean Greeners are back in town. So looking forward to having those folks here. Great Hall of Fame class will be inducted at the Embassy tomorrow morning. And then at 3 o'clock, we kick it off against the Liberty Flames. So you don't have to leave. You can probably come up and talk to these folks in person. But thank you all for a great turnout tonight and for helping us celebrate the move to the American.